Hello everyone, today I'm going to talk about a simple introduction to pen testing for beginners. So I've chosen a very basic room here on a platform called TryHackMe, and that is a very easy room to complete. What I'm going to do is do a very easy, layman terms explained video for you where I discuss very few things in technical terms. I only more or less use tools and show you the whole idea of how you pen test a website like this. So I want to apologize at the same time. I'm a bit, I catch the cold, so if my voice sounds a bit ticked, that is the reason for that. The very first task we're going to do is to basically have a look at the web page. Now, we know the web page is called Bold, however, we don't know the actual address for it. We do have the IP, so that is the way it works here on TryHackMe, that you access stuff through IPs in most occasions. So let's just assume that I actually went to the actual web page here, and I'm looking at this, and I'm thinking, okay, so we have some sort of, web server here. Web server is, by the way, a server that is, hosting website. Gonna stick to this, no more technical than this. And we're watching this. This looks like it says Ubuntu default page. So it looks like someone just installed the web server, and the web server is the software that is making it possible for us to have a website we can visit through a browser. Alright, so what we're going to do now is basically go ahead and click up here in the Linux Kali, that is the operating system that I chosen to use. And you can see that there are these 14 different steps here. Now, you can think of these 14 different steps as your reconnaissance and scanning and exploitation and post-exploitation stuff. Now, a video containing steps for all these tools here would be super long. So I'm just basically telling you that if you wish to do it, you could more or less take each of these steps and go like information gathering, go to Google and type security information gathering, press enter, and then you're gonna find a lot of interesting articles that's gonna learn you more about information gathering. But as you can see, there are so many different tools. Just giving you the idea of you could go and search for each of different words here, and then you will find the interesting necessary information for you to get further. So let's get on with this. So what we're going to do now is basically go ahead and say, okay, so everything, when you're hacking, everything goes through a terminal. So we're going to open a terminal. And what we're really going to say here is that we have the IP address. No, we do not copy that. Let's go ahead and do that. This is the IP address. I'm going to copy it. So copy. And I'm pretty sure when I paste it now in my terminal, it's going to be with HTTP and everything. So let's just remove all this. And in front of this, we're going to type Nmap and basically press enter. Nmap is the tool for you to go to. That is the most perfect, fastest tool, in my opinion. And the most widely used tool, that is not my opinion, it is, or on the whole globe here, right? So you're going to scan this server, and we have the IP address. Now, if you don't know how to get the IP address for server, you could basically ping it. So you write ping in the terminal, and let's assume you want to get the IP address for, let's say, tryhackme.com, and you just dig that, and then you just control C out of it, or stop the actual ping. Then you can see here that you get the IP address of this so far. So that's the IP address. So if you copy this and go to any browser tab and paste it in, you are not allowed directly to access TryHackMe through an IP. Basically, this is a setup they can make, but in most occasions, you can access a web page through its raw IP. However, it is not practical to try and do that because it doesn't give us anything at all. Accessing a web page through an IP is just a way to identify, so we got the right IP address. However, we know it is the right IP address because pinging a domain name will give us the actual IP address here. If you don't know what ping is basically just a command asking for the visibility of a server or a client. So you're basically saying, hey, are you there? And the server saying, yeah, obviously I'm here. So that is what ping really does. It's just a sign of life, you know. Can we see each other? You know, that is also a way to think of ping. Alright, so now that we know how to find the IP and we did scan the machine, so we said Nmap. Nmap did scan the most commonly used ports, and ports are, in other words, discussed as something called a service. So we can see here that we have 3 different services at this machine. We have a SSH, very commonly on port 22. We have a HTTP server, which is a web server on port 80, which is very common. And that is the page we saw right here, because we didn't supply any port, and then you put a number after the IP. We didn't supply any port number at all, we just wrote the IP. So that is why we are seeing that page. However, we're also seeing something called HTTP alt, and that could be short for alternative, I really don't know. However, it is on port 8000. So what I could do now is go to the browser and basically :8000, press enter, and voila, we're gonna see a web page. So it seems like this server is some sort of testing server, and the original web page should be placed on port 80, which is the very first one, this one. However, they are not done with developing this site here, so it's placed on a testing port, which is port 8000, where we can access it. So what we really did here is we scanned the server, and we found out that this machine does actually have a web page that is on a production level. And production level applications usually contains a lot of flaws. Informations are shared, you know, they could be posting passwords or whatever on the actual site because they think, yeah, it doesn't really matter, it's just some testing server. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the server. And basically, this is the website. I did this room many times, so we know that we can see here that on the website they really, you know, we can basically see that this is just, you know, some test setup, sub 1, sub 2, sub 3, and we can, you know, it is nothing. So we can see that we have a, right here they actually posted, Jake is the admin. However, the password for the admin is boldadmin123, and we can see just a tab more below that the username is bold. It is standing right here in clear text. Now I know this is a quite unusual case. However, in the term of having a testing site and it's on some port, you know, no one gonna scan us, no one gonna find out. But you did, you scanned the server, so you found that port that is open on the server, which is why you now see this site here. And this is just a production site. It is not at all ready for online use. It is basically being built at the moment, so we can try and take some use of this. Now with a tad of research, we can find out that if you go and write /bold here in the URL, we are accessing the admin panel, which is for the CMS bold. The reason for the name of bold is because of the icon. It is a bold that is like a tool you can use to screw things on a, you know, I don't know what it's called. It's bolded, you know. Yeah. Okay. So basically, the username is bold, and bold admin 123 was the password, and we can basically log in this way, and we have access to the backend now. And it's going to take its time. There we have it. So basically, we see this is a normal backend for any CMS. It could be WordPress, Umbraco, Bold, whatever. You know, if you've got access to this, you usually got many different things you can do. There are many ways you can exploit this backend, and usually when you have backend access like this, you probably gonna win the scenario, and you're gonna get, you know, full control of the server, which is also called you have a shell on the box. So basically, when you have a shell in the box, it basically means that you have a terminal like this that is directly attached and connected to the server, so you can do interactions with the server through a terminal because it is connected over the internet, you know, network-ish like, and then you can basically type commands, access any file, do whatever you want. That is at least what we're gonna try and do. So there are many different ways you can exploit this, and what you're gonna do in this particular case is either you can run a tool called Metasploit, which is a tool that's gonna help you exploit and find vulnerabilities and weaknesses for this particular application on Bold CMS. You can see down here there's the version 3.7.1. What usually you can do is go ahead and start up Metasploit, as I mentioned, and you can try and find an exploit for it. Now on Linux Kali, there is a command you can type search exploit, which is directly attached to a web page called exploitdb.com, which is a website where you can look up different kind of software and find vulnerabilities with exploits. Yeah, right. Okay. So now I'm gonna just like bold CMS, and what you basically see here, the search function is gonna give us. The red one is the targeted keyword that I searched for, and it said like, okay, I found this, and you can see we had version 3.7.1. Worthwhile, the last version dot after is not worth looking for, because usually it's not a big thing. However, it could be sometimes that they fixed something. But we see here that it says 3.7.0, which is actually really close, and tells us we have something called authenticated. We are authenticated, so that's really good. We have the admin password, we have the admin username, we logged in. And then it says we can do remote code execution. Now, this is very technical, so I'm just going to say it very basic. Remote code execution means that you can execute commands on the server from your machine. Sounds good? Yeah, it does. So this looks really promising. So I know that there is an exploit for this particular version of Bold CMS, and what I'm gonna do now is thinking, okay, so I can start up Metasploit by typing msf console in my console, and just gonna wait a bit, and we started up. Alright, so now that we have started up Metasploit here on this particular application, we can see a lot of statistics and whatnot, and that is not that interesting, so I'm going to start typing clear to get it up further, because then it's easy for you to see. So we're going to type search and bold CMS one more time. However, this time we're not typing search exploit, just typing search, because that is a command within the framework we're using right now, which is called Metasploit. Metasploit is a pen testing framework that is made for you, that you don't have to do all the things manually. You can actually use a framework that is framed for you, a framework that is made for you to easy get access to the server, right? So we found that we can see the same authenticated remote code execution, the same version here, and we can see this line of code here, and the text doesn't make that much of a sense. However, let's just look at it. It says check yes. Yes usually is a positive word, so let's go with that. Rank excellent, it sounds like this is really good, and let's go with that too. Disclosure now 2020, yeah, it is some years ago. However, it looks fine because the version checks out. And it says the exploit, Unix, web app, no idea, but it's a path. I know what it is, but I promise no technical explanation. And hashtag 0. Now the hashtag means this line number 0, this is line number 1, and so on. So if I want to use this particular exploit here, which is this the first one on line 0, I should type use 1 or use 0. I'm going to type use 0. So now I see that I configured this inside there, and it looks like, just for looking at it without even understanding what it is, it looks like I'm using this particular exploit right now, which I am. So I'm gonna type show options. I know this looks a bit weird now. This is where I type show options, so everything below to here is popping up on my screen. This is very green, and you can see here on the required page that yes, yes, no, yes, yes. Okay, so this is just filling out information. What do we know? Okay, what is required? That is empty. The password. Okay, we know the password. So set password bold admin123. That's how we do it. Let's see. No. Okay. Yes. Remote host. Yeah, you kind of know the target host. So basically, that's the IP address for the server that we're trying to compromise. So set our host, ghost, no. And I couldn't remember the IP address, so I'm going to look again. 10.10.1300. Okay, so that's easy. 10.10.1300. There we go. Yes, 8000. Remote port. Oh, okay. So yes, the target port is 8000. It could be any port. The developers could have chosen any port. However, they chose 8000, so it's fine for us. We're going to leave it. Yes, okay, filled out. Yes, filled out. No, no. Yes, filled out. Not filled out, but no. Yes, username. We have the username. set username, bold, press enter, and we're gonna see here next. So we're gonna go, now we're done with all this here, basically just looking at the yes, the no's, and filling out. I'm not really explaining anything, I'm just saying, you know, common sense use, beginner's guide to, you know, get some success. That is, you know, one way of doing it. So we're gonna say required, yes. Okay, so this is the payload option. Yeah, that's a technical word. The payload is basically when we're gonna try and exploit this server, some malicious code is being sent from Metasploit, which is the program we're using, to the server, and we're gonna try and make it do bad things so we can get, you know, full control of the server, or a shell in the box, as I also explained it was. Alright, so the L host is us, so localhost, that is my IP. So I'm going to say set lhost 10.11.021. Now I know that is my IP address because I've done this too many times. However, if you do not know, let's open a new terminal and type sudo if config. Please bear in mind that I'm connected to TryHackMe's network, which is done through some OpenVPN. Now, this is not really necessary if you are performing, you know, a basic pen test on a server. You don't need to connect to TryHackMe's open network because I'm using their servers. I'm doing legal hacking, which is okay because it's their service I'm buying. So, this is my address. Usually you would use the one up here in EF0. However, this is just my local IP address. So, yeah, it's not really gonna work that way. However, for this particular example, we're just gonna use the IP address on my connected OpenVPN. So we can say one more time, show options, and basically just see that we filled out all the one that say yes with information we already knew and had. So what now? What now? Well, now only one thing is left, is to start this program to exploit on the server, to do the bad things that's gonna get us control of the server. There are two words you can type. You can either type run down here, or you can type exploit. And I feel exploit is a bit more fun to type, so I'm gonna type exploit, press enter, and now you're gonna see a lot of jumble jumble text down here below, and it seems like, yeah, we have no idea what's going on. It is just things. However, what we do see is this one here, which is the one you're gonna look for always. Command shell session 1 opened. Wow. So that basically means we have full control. Let me type a command. It did respond to me with something. Who am I? I am root. I'm gonna say cd enter ls, and basically I'm doing basic Linux commands right now on the server. This is a Linux server that I compromised, and we can see the index page here, and we can see all the different things going on. Now we have control of the server now. We owned the server. We have full control. We can do whatever we like to do right now. This is one way of easy getting access to a server, easy pen testing. I didn't really do a lot, so what I'm gonna do now is to show a little more what you could have done besides just taking it the obvious way that I did. Now what you could have done, I'm gonna close down this program here, so I'm gonna type exit, and I'm gonna close the window. What you could have done here is basically said, I'm gonna log out of this as well. Okay, so we are back to the original page here, and what you usually do here is that you try and find secret folders and stuff people put here. Sometimes they put, you know, the word secret, you know, or whatever. They create a folder that you can access. In this particular case here, I suggest we do the Reconnaissance on port 8000 because that is the actual web page. basic reconnaissance on a web page like this would of course require you to look. I did kind of do that with you, but you know, I just knew where to look. But you would look anywhere, and you're gonna try and find the admin panel, and we didn't really know. Now, if you want to find the admin panel for this web page, you can go ahead and look up the bold CMS on Google and just find it. However, I'm going to show you a tool where you can explore the web application and whatever path that it contains on it. So we're going to go to a terminal and type GoBuster directory u 1010 1300, and I'm going to type this out, and afterward I'm going to explain it to you. And we're gonna use the common one here. Okay, so basic, this line of code here means that we're using a program called GoBuster. GoBuster is a program that's gonna scan for directories via type D here on this particular host 1010 1300, which is 1010 1300. I missed the port, so I'm gonna type that as well. And I think if I'm gonna do a port on this, I need the HTTP in front of it. And then we'd have to go do the colon 8000, just like that. Now, this particular line here just basically tells us that this server here, on this IP, on this port, we're gonna try and find all the different kind of, you know, directories that is on in this list called common. So when I press enter here, it's gonna start and tell us that we find something called htaccess, which is a file that we can directly go ahead and just cite this and try and enter it, and we can save the file and download it in this particular case. So let's open a new terminal and go to the downloads page where I just downloaded it to. So let's say cat.htaccess is not visible. Where is it? Didn't we download it? It is right there. So let's say cat htaccess, and what we can see is all the rules that is inside the htaccess, giving us some sort of idea of things and rules for how they set up this particular website. Now, I'm not going to go in depth with this, but this is very crucial in some occasions because we can find hidden stuff. Let's go back to the actual, you know, I found something called entries here. It's very important that you see the status is 200, basically meaning this is okay. So entries, let's copy this and go to entries. And entries is basically just all the different, you know, posts, it seems like, from some guy. And that is actually a path in the web application we found using this tool here. And we can basically run for a long time. But what I'm thinking we should do now is basically take this line here and copy it and say what's inside of this. What's inside this file is just a lot of things we're gonna try and find, and eventually it's gonna, you know, run out of tries and common things to look for. So what you could do, what you could do is you can go ahead and create your own by typing touch in the Linux command line and say my path, and go into nano and say my path, and then you can type stuff like admin, panel, bold, which is one of the terms we did find, and maybe also administrator or login, and create your own list of, you know, stuff you can try to add. So let's just clear the screen one more time, take this here and say, but I'm going to use my own list now, so I'm going to use my path. I'm going to press enter, and basically it's going to tell you that you did find something here called /bold, which is redirected, which is what 302 means. You can also see redirect you to bold/admin. So what you could do here in particular case, just go ahead and type bold, and you're going to be redirected to the bold/admin, which is exactly what the tool told you. So this is a tool that can help you find and enumerate, you know, folders on the actual application, which is really cool. I really like this tool. So there are many other things you could do tool-wise to further compromise applications and stuff like that. If you go ahead here and type like vulnerability, you know, there are fuzzing, Nessus, VoIP, and Nmap is one of the ones we actually used. But I'm thinking this video getting like 25 minutes long, and I showed you one way of, you know, easily getting access to a web page if it contains the actual vulnerability that is inside ExploitDB. And it never showed you ExploitDB, by the way, which is just a website looking like that. And you can go ahead and just search and type bold CMS one more time, and it's gonna find the things that you looked for just earlier. And sometimes the search word can be a bit weird, and basically you can see here that it does find this 2020 bold CMS version 3.7.0 authenticated remote code execution. And you can actually press it if you wish to, and you can look at the exploit. And this exploit here, or this code, you know, this is very technical. It is Python code. It's something you can download and exploit directly. However, as I told you before, the program called Metasploit have all this code implemented in its own system, so you can run it easier. Easier. So yeah. I think that's it for this video. I hope you can use this for something, give you an idea of how is basic pen testing, some approach, some tools, some explanations. Really fast, of course. Rewatch the video, share it. You know, I really hope you can use it for something, because I wish everyone to get started with security in some way, and this is my take on it. So until next time, just take care and see you again.